Are you a chronic goal setter but not achieving your goals? If so, stick around because today I'm going to show you how to create a system that actually helps you achieve your goals once and for all. My name is Rachel, and I know exactly what it's like to set a goal, be motivated, only to let it die simply because I didn't understand the importance of systems. Heck, I didn't even understand what the word systems even meant. Before we even get started, I want to know how many of you out there are just like me. I want you to click the thumbs up button if you have ever set a goal only to let it fizzle out and die long after the motivation has disappeared. By the end of today's video, you're going to understand what a system is, how to backward design your goal into small, achievable chunks, and the best of all, how to create a system to get you there. Let's get to it. What even is a system? My favorite definition that I have discovered of system is an organized framework or method to get things done. So really, it's kind of like a set of steps, but not just any steps. Steps that you set purposefully in order to achieve a certain outcome. But how do we build a system? Well, the first thing that you need is a goal, and you have to understand why that goal is important. Let's just use this graphic as an example. I want you to think about your dream life. So we've got this little mountain, and as we climb the mountain of life towards our goals and our dream life, sometimes we're climbing uphill, sometimes it's a nice little plateau where things are a little bit easier, and then we're passing the obstacles along the way, and finally we get up here to our dream life. And our dream life is kind of like all of the goals that we put together will create our dream life. All right, so this is what I want you to think about. And I'd love for you to go ahead and do this at the exact same time because time is reality. And if you're really focused on this, and if this is something that you really want, take the time to hit pause and actually go through this process yourself. If you're really looking for how do I make a system after I've set a goal. But before we even set a goal, it's really important for you to understand why these goals are important to you. So what I want you to think about is your dream life. If you were living your dream life 10 years from now, what would that look like? And I want you to write those 10 things down. So if somebody said, if your life was as perfect as it could be, what are 10 things that you would say that you have achieved? So of course, you might say something like, I'm a successful writer. You might say, I've built my dream home. I live in my dream home, or I exercise daily. Something that if you knew it to be true, you would be saying, I'm living the dream. So go ahead and write those things down. All right, now that you've got your list of 10, I want you to go ahead and think about if you could have anything on your list right now in this moment, which one item would add the most value or purpose to your life? Which one? And usually this one often stands out for most of us, but I want you to go ahead and pick one. And I want you to tell me what it is, because I want to see how many similarities we have as a group, and I want to see what differences we have in the goals that we have. So let me know what your one item is that would add the most purpose or value to your life right now. And actually in a future video, my plan is to show you my exact process that I have used, this one right here, creating my own personal goal. Today, I'm just explaining the system to you, but in the next video, and I'll link it whenever I have it created. In the next video, I will show you the exact process that I have used to create my system for my personal goal. All right, now that you've chosen your goal, we're going to design a backward plan to get that goal achieved. Now, the importance of a backward plan is that you need to know where you're going, you need to have a goal, and then you decide how you're going to chunk it into achievable small steps. And this is really important because the fact of the matter is this goal was that important and you already knew the system, then you probably would already have this in your life. The fact that you don't means that we need to set a system up. There needs to be some behavior change or some system change in your life in order for you to reach it, right? All right, so I'm just going to use the example that you have a goal to write a book. So let's imagine that you had on your list that I'm a writer. A measurable piece of that goal would be that you've written a book. So we're going to pretend that you want to write a book. This is how the backward design would work. Before we go through the backward design, I really want you to think about why your goal is so important. And the reason I say it is this. Many times when we set goals, we don't always really think about why. Many times we choose goals that we think other people want us to have, or we choose goals that other people have because it just sort of seems like if everybody wants to set this goal, maybe that's what I should be setting too. And if you end up setting a goal that really has no purpose for you or value in your life, you're super unlikely to achieve it because it doesn't really matter. Now on to the backward design. We're going to first imagine that we're going to give ourselves a year to write this book. We are going to break it down into quarters. So although quarter 2, 3, and 4 are going to be really important as well, we only want to focus on quarter, what we can do in 3 months, and then we're going to reevaluate. Because if we think about writing a book over the course of an entire year, but we don't have a plan, then it's going to be really easy for time to get away from us. But quarter 2, 3, 4 are so far away that it's hard to set benchmarks because we need to see how far we get in the first month, 2, and 3. So again, we're working backwards. So we're going to imagine that on month 3, at the end of the first quarter, let's say we want to have half of the rough draft of that book completed. So that means at month 2, maybe we want to have a quarter of that draft completed. And then at month 1, let's say we want to have the first 4 chapters completed. So now we're going to break down month 1. We've got week 4, which is the end of the first month, which we said we wanted to have 4 chapters completed. Then we have week 3. We want to have, let's say, 3 chapters completed. So week 2, we'll have 2 chapters completed, and week 1, we'll have 1 chapter finished. So now we're going to break it down even further, right? So we've got an idea, we're starting to plan things out, but now we get down to the nitty gritty. So at the end of week 1, which would be day 5, let's say we want to have our first round edits done. We said that we wanted to have a first chapter complete. Day 4, maybe we want to do revisions, which means we add some additions or we omit some things that aren't necessary. Now by day 3, that means that we have to have the second half of the draft completed in order to do the edits the next day. So day 2, we'll have the first half of the draft completed. And then on day 1, we're going to set out a general outline. So now we have a 3-month plan. Before we even begin anything, we've got this plan in place. But this isn't actually the system just yet. This is still our outline or still our plan. See, the system is the framework. The system is the plan. The system is those intentional steps that you take every single day to ensure that your plan gets executed. You need to show up for yourself every day in an intentional way. And that's often created through one daily habit at a time. So I want you to think about this. It's easy to be intentional if you can commit to an intentional habit that will help you get this done. Once you build a set of intentional habits, you got it. You've got your system. Congratulations. Okay. But I know you might still be sitting there saying, but I thought you were going to show me how to create this system. And I am through this exact same example. So when you show up each day, you need to show up with intention. You need to show up with a habit. And I'm going to give you an example of a really easy habit that, just like our 3-month plan, our quarterly plan, is going to take some front loading. We need to plan it out before we can actually execute it. The same thing goes with this daily habit that I love to call the system. You need to plan it out. But once you have a plan, you can just reuse that intentional action or intentional step every single day with just a little bit of tweaking. So let's imagine you want to write that book. We've done the backward design. Now we know what we're going to do every day of the week and every week of the month. So here's what I would create if I wanted to be a writer. I want you to ask yourself, how can I show up for myself each day? If you want to be a writer, on day 1, you said, I'm going to outline chapter 1. So then you have to ask yourself, what do I need to make this happen? Do you need a quiet spot? Do you need a computer or a pen and paper? Maybe you say, you know what, I need an hour slotted out in my time that I can devote to this goal. Maybe I need earbuds if I plan to be out in a public place, or maybe if I don't want other people around me hearing what I'm listening to. Maybe I need some inspiration. Maybe I need some music for some inspiration. So that's great. The task to be completed, check. You know what it is, what you need to make it happen. Awesome. But where it gets real and where the system comes into action is when you consider those actionable, intentional steps. And here they are, the actions. What do you need to do to show up for yourself each day? So on day one, I personally write out my dream list. So you know that list of 10 that we wrote down earlier, I write those out every single day. Every single day I write those out because I want to keep them fresh in my mind. So that might be something that I say. I might say, what thing I need to do is read this exact slide that I have up. I need to read this each day to make sure that I know what I need to make happen and I know what actions I'm about to take in this hour slot. I'm going to go to my designated space. I need to show up for myself by putting my phone on do not disturb or avoiding social media that I don't want to get wrapped up into because I don't want to waste a precious second of this hour that I'm devoting to my goal. I need to show up at my committed time slot. I might need to write out titles or ideas for my outline in my chapter. I might need to write out headings or subheadings for my chapter. Maybe you need to research some information that you need to add to your outline. And then if there's any time left over, use that hour up and work on tomorrow's task. Then you're on to day two, where you're going to do the exact same thing. When you do this for yourself, you show up every day with intentional steps and actions and a plan to execute. I promise you, your goals are going to be so much more achievable than if you just set your goal and let the initial excitement and motivation take over, only to never have a plan or a system in place. And once you get that system in place, it becomes a habit. And when something becomes a habit, you barely even need to think about it anymore. James Clear says, goals are good for planning your progress, but systems are good for actually making progress. I look forward to hearing about all of the goals that you're setting. I can't wait to hear if these systems are working for you or if you have a different idea for your own personal set of systems. If anything in this video connected with you or you found it inspiring in any way, please subscribe so that you don't miss out on my next piece of inspiration. I can't wait to see you in the next one. Don't lose focus and remember, trust your own journey.